Yeah. So I'm gonna put this real quick here. It says there was a time when single women over the age of 25 was considered old maid. So you're way past your time. You're not even married, right? Was considered old maid during the 17th century, which really it was way beyond that. I remember when I was a kid, they would joke about people being old maids. Not talking about the game Old Maid, right? Which where did they get that from, right? Because you never married, so you end up just being an old lady doing nothing, right? So it says many people referred to them as spinsters or thornback because they never married. Today, old maids are career orientated. See, so even to this very day, you're technically an old maid, right? Because you're career orientated, postponing marriage and motherhood by choice or circumstance. So ultimately, at the end of the day, that thing, just because they say, oh, that was just only back in the 17th century, no, that thing continues on even to this very day. You're career orientated. You're just an old maid, and that's what that woman is. And now she's looking at things and she's bitter, right? Well, you'll see it. You'll see it. I'm speaking about it before you even see the video, but you'll see. Now she's a nice looking older lady, but but I just wanted to throw that in real quick, right? Before you see this video real quick. Yeah, hopefully this is a lesson that's edifying.
It's always women have to look a certain way in order to be chosen. We've been conditioned to compete against each other to be chosen.
Yeah.
We have to have a certain body. We have to have a certain glow. We have to have a certain look. And I'll just speak in my category because I'm over 50. Once I get to this age, I start to lose that beauty, that youth, right? So the older men will start looking at the younger women, right? However, they're no different than me because they're losing the look, the body starts to go, and it's like, Negro. I want somebody next to me too that's a trophy too. Right? Yes. So here we go with the double standard. Yeah. We're sitting here talking about women. Can we flip it? The pressure is so hard. Literally, it's all
right. Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai. All praises and all honor and all glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakah HaKodash. Double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well and do well. To the elder apostles, bishops in Connecticut, the bishops, the preachers, the teachers, the evangelists, and the four winds, preaching in truth and sincerity, risking your lives more now than ever, the hopeful elect, Shalom. To the Israelite foreigners, whose phenotype may look like another nation, but bloodline goes back to Israel through your father and have come back to the fold. Shalom. To you sisters, you Akhwathium, who listen and learn under your husband, which is your spiritual leader, with meekness and with silence. This your brother Aram Yahawada with the lesson. And then, you know what I'm saying, as you go on, like this chick is part of the problem why these younger women ain't wrapped too tight. This is why the downfall of society. Now she's a nice looking older woman, but she's not doing her due diligence as a woman, right? And she might even say she's a God-fearing woman, or she may not. She might be atheist, right? Because in this time and day, all of a sudden, you so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans are atheists, man, right? Because you've been in America too damn long, and now you're oversaturated with madness, man, right? So, but yeah, let's kind of go through just a little bit of this, what she was saying.
Always women have to look a certain way in order to be chosen. We've been
right. Shouldn't you have to look a certain way? Right? The scripture says, let a woman adorn herself in modest apparel, right? If you wear a certain apparel and you look like a harlot, what am I going to think? What kind of a woman you are, right? You got your cleavage all out. You got your goddamn camel toe all out. What am I supposed to think about you, right? Like the comedian Dave Chappelle said, a while back ago, man, that thing, I still think about that. And I always reference that, right? I want to give a you know what is it? I want to say fair use. This is for educational purposes only. I am not making any money off of this. It's only for educational purposes only. Fair use, right? Because he states that him being, a comedian, regular guy, wearing a police uniform, if you mistake him and he's standing on the corner, you mistake him, say, hey, officer, hey, we need help over here. And he goes look at you like, well, I'm not an officer. I'm wearing a uniform, right? And when you dress like that, you may not be a harlot, but you are wearing a harlot's uniform, sort of speak, so it makes sense. So yeah, you're supposed to look a certain way, right?
Conditioned to compete against each other.
Right, and that's something that women do natural. And that's a natural thing. Women are going to compete against each other for the men, right? But there's a healthy way to compete, right? But that's just natural, right?
To be chosen. Yeah. We have to have a certain body. We have to have a certain glow. We have to have a
right. Hey, you want to be? Shouldn't you compete to be chosen? I mean, ultimately, that's even what the Lord is saying. I mean, even though it's predestined, still the Lord is saying, seek your own salvation with fear and trembling, so that you may be chosen, right? In a sense, that's kind of like what we're doing as the Lord said He likened Israel to a comely and delicate woman, which are really talking about the men, right? But being referenced to as a weaker vessel, it's almost like we're presenting ourselves, we're competing, so to speak, mostly with yourself ultimately than you are with someone else. But it's a thing, you got to put yourself out there, right? The man has to pick the best candidate, right? You're talking about marriage is a business, and it's supposed to be everlasting. You want this long, forever happy, or whatever, this fairy tale thing, right? But the one thing about it is marriage is forever, right? So you got to pick the best candidate. So you're gonna have to compete, right?
Look, and I'll just speak in my category because I'm over 50. Once I get to this age, I start to lose that beauty, that youth, right? So the older men will start looking at the younger women, right?
Right, and that's a natural thing too, right? At the end of the day, right? That is a natural thing, right? And you're a nice looking older woman. Like I said, straight up and down. I would date you, but you got to look at things in contrast to what life, how the Most High set it up. So, you can use Esau society and try to go against what the Most High set up, but you're going to run against what's it called, proverbial brick wall, right? Yeah. So this is 1 Timothy chapter 5 verse 9 says, "Let not a widow be taken," which talk about marriage, right? Let her not be married again, right? Right, and we have to consider you basically being like a widow, right? Because most likely you got a lot of husbands, and the one that you had, who took your virginity is technically supposed to be your husband. You're only supposed to have one man, right? So whoever that man was that took your virginity back in whatever 19 was it 7, you probably would say you're in 50, so you was in 70s, 80s, early 70s, 80s. So that man is either very old or dead or something, right? So we have to consider that, Jakes don't live that long. The men, while you're talking, man, the men die at 50, right? And Jakes die at 50. So we're gonna consider you, because really most likely you're just an adulterous woman at over 50 years old, and you're still being because this is why you're talking this madness, right? Because you probably got many husbands, right? But let's just let not a widow be taken, right, which to be married, into the number under 60 years old. 20, 20, 20, and that's 60 years old, right? That's 60 years old. So you're pushing 60, right? And it's not really for you to be married again. So you're speaking a bunch of madness, having been the wife of one man, right? You're supposed to be the wife of only one man, not multiple partners, man. But here you are speaking, and then you're saying, "Hey, well, I want a trophy husband too." So it's showing what kind of woman you are, man. Right? You're the problem of why these young so-called black women ain't in order, man. This is Proverbs chapter 5, verse 18. Let the fountain be blessed, and rejoice with the wife of thy youth, which wife just means woman, right? So you're supposed to be with the wife of thy youth. Now this is actually speaking of the scriptures or wisdom, right? But there's a lot of principles when it's speaking of wisdom, when that women as wives should be towards their husband, just like Proverbs 31. That's really wisdom. It's not really talking about the woman, because a lot of people be like, I'm a Proverbs 31 woman. Not that's actually wisdom. It's not talking, but there are principles of you being a wife, right? Within Proverbs 31. So, but there's obviously principles in life that's in there. So this is actually talking about wisdom. But a man is supposed to love a woman and want to be with her at her youth, at a young, beautiful, when matter of fact, it says, let her loving hind, right? Which, hind, right? Your backside. When is a woman's backside the most firmest? When she's young, right? And pleasant roe, right? A roe is like a deer. You want to chase her. You want, what I mean? You want to hunt her down, like so to speak. You're in that position that you're trying to obtain her, right? So to speak. But this is talking about wisdom technically. And let her breast, right? When is a woman's breast the best? She's younger, right? Satisfy thee at all times, which just, like I said, it's really talking about wisdom, going into the scriptures and letting the scriptures be, a constant nourishment, right? To nourish your spirit, which goes into la'ab, your mind, which basically, which your spirit, which turns the Lord said you will do things in dark or in your closet, and He will make it manifest openly. And as you see, you go to your prayer closet, or you're doing your lessons. Eventually the Lord allows people to see your sincerity within Him, and they go, "Oh wow, that's a." Hey, matter of fact, the other day I had a dude come up to me. Hey man, I know you. I think I know you somewhere. I'm like, yeah, no, I lived over. Oh, maybe I. You know what? You a good dude. Oh, all right, man. Thank you. All right. I never met him before, and he walked away. Right. So the Lord allowed people to see certain things in you that maybe you didn't even know you had. You know what I mean, or whatever. But the Lord will make it manifest, that satisfy thee at all times, and be thus ravished. Right? Because this is, like I said, this is like a principle of what women are supposed to be doing. A woman is always supposed to, because a woman's thing is she needs to be chased, but the scriptures actually says opposite, right? The woman is supposed to chase you, right? So it says and be ravished, right? Which means to be taken, grabbed, raped, tooken, right? Ravished, always with her love. Like, so a woman's supposed to just always pour her love, and always supposed to be, at first maybe you chase her a little bit, or you go after her, But for the most part, once you obtain the woman is supposed to constantly, always, her whole, matter of fact, because it tells you that. Yeah. So this is Genesis chapter 3, verse 16. And unto the woman, right, he said, right, which is basically the prophet, right, at that time, speaking, being the mouthpiece of the Most High, right, speaking with the Most High, is uttering unto him and relaying it unto the woman, right? And it says, and I will greatly multiply thy sorrows, right, and thy conception, right, dealing with, um, being able to have babies and be able to, because there's a thing where if a woman don't have children, it's like a contempt to her. It's a reproach to you if you're not able to have children. So there's that too, right? There's women who go their whole and never had children, right? And it basically pained them that they were never able to have children. See, but your thing is to speak about so you can have multiple partners, and so you can have a trophy. I mean, hey, in sorrow thus shall bring forth children, and that's if the Lord allows you to, right? And then here, this is the point, because this is ultimately the way a woman is meant to be. It says, and thy desire shall be, see, your desire shall be be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee, right? And that's ultimately what's supposed to be, man. The way it's meant to be. Your desire is supposed to ravish your husband. Your desire, right? Yeah. So ravished, or ravish.
Ravish.
So ravish, or past tense, ravished, right? It says archaic, seize and carry off someone by force. See? So you're supposed to just be carried away with the love of that person, right? It says, there's no assurance that her infant child will not be ravished from her breast, right? Carried away eating. He's going to just carried, just keep on eating, right? Right? Being nourished, right? Dated of a man, raped woman, raped, should we say, raped, right? Grape, sexual abuse, violent, force oneself on, molest, this, right? But this is talking about taking with the love. So you're supposed to just take the love and just love your husband, right? Like, you know what I mean, like that, almost like a violent love, almost, sort of speak, right? But you're supposed to be what, like,
enchant.
Yeah, see, that's what it is. You're enchanted. You're
fascinate.
You're fascinated with being in love with the guy. You're it would say,
blow away.
You're blown away by the love of him. You can't get enough of your husband, right? That's ultimately what you're supposed to be like. You know what I mean?
Rapture.
Raptured, right? Right. Which they correlate that with the second coming of, but there's no such thing as Christ, and that's not what is, that's BS. But it's to be taken away, right? It's supposed to be taken away by his love, or by loving him. You're supposed to ravish him with love. You're supposed to love him so much that you're kidnapping, you're taking him, right? Yeah, because basically here it is again. The Proverbs 5:19. We're gonna go down to see what in the Hebrew, right? We can get this definition.
Strong's H 7686. Shaga. Shaga.
Yeah, shaga, which is talking about loving. Since going astray, error, to stray, right? Which is not talking about go astray in that type of way, right? Because else that would be adultery, and adultery is punishable by death according to the Bible. So it's not telling you to do it like to go astray like that. It's to be right here. This is the best definition: be intoxicated in drunkenness, like you're just so in love, overwhelmed in love with your husband, right? You're led astray or led away, like you with the love, right? See if they got. They don't got no root. Right? Because definitely when you read that, it's not talking about going astray, right? Because this is technically it's talking about wisdom. You don't go astray from wisdom. You go to you stay with wisdom, right? Yeah. So to be at all time ravished with her love, right? So the love of a woman is supposed to always be take you over, right? Right? Because that's her desire. Yeah, so I'm basically do the same thing real quick right here with the Genesis 3:16. Let's go down to desire real quick.
Strong's H 8669. Teshuka. Teshuka.
Deshuka, right? Deshuka, right? Desire, longing, craving, right? Of a man for a woman, right? Or of a woman for a man, right? This is your complete desire, right? Of breasts to devour, right? You being right in love, right? In the bosoms, right? And basically, what's it in the bosoms of the breast, right? Always like clinging on to each other, like hugging each other, clinging on to each other, right? Yeah. So basically, that's what it is. A woman's love is just overtake to be about bounty, about meaning pro. Probable, right? Probable, right? Abounding. Abundant. It's like abundant. It's like abundant, meaning probable, right? Abundant, to overflow, right? Your love, your desire, all that's supposed to overflow, supposed to be intoxicating and love, and that's how a woman's supposed to love her husband, right? If you was loving your husband, the one you were with, or whoever took your virginity from the first place, you would still be with him, right? You wouldn't be talking about how it's a double standard, right? Because that's just how it is. Yeah, so this is Ecclesiasticus 7, also known as Sirach 7:25. Marry thy daughter, and so shall thus have performed a weighty matter, right? Right, and it's talking about what a man, a father, marry your daughter, right? Marry your daughter off, get her married to another to a man, right? And you will perform a weighty matter. But give her to a man of understanding, right? A man of the principles of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. A man that understands, who can operate under the guidance of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, and not just a goddamn fool because he has money, right? Because marriage is a business, but It's not just you're looking at it as a business aspect. You're looking at it as a man of understanding, right? Because because according to the law, a man can have multiple wives, right? You as a woman can't have multiple husbands because you feel like everything's unequal and it's not fair. Well, that's just society, right? You don't feel like it's fair. Well, this is the Lord saying a man shall marry the woman off as young, and if a man has understanding, so do a young man have understanding? No, right? Because he's young, he's not fully developed into his manhood yet, right? Though you are considered a man at 12, but what do you normally do? You will go work under another man for 7 years when you turn 12 years old, and you'll work, you'll operate, and when you once you're was it 12 was it 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, right? 7 years later or so, right? The year of release at 19, you'll be established as a man. The man is to give you some substance. Now you're 19, you worked hard, right? And your young daughter may be young. She may be still 12 or 13. You're going to marry her to this young man who's maybe 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. You're going to marry, you know what I mean? Someone who has, you're not going to marry them off. Well, here are these two 12-year-olds. Let's marry them. Well, none of them have any experience. None of them have any wealth, right? So, you will want to marry him off to marry her off to someone who had good tutelage, right? You would consider that, like the Apostle Paul was under the tutelage of a great man that was like a professor in the law, like he was a top man in the law. He learned under that man. So yes, what you will marry your daughter off to a man of that prestige, so to speak. I can't remember the name of the guy at this point right now, but that's what you would do. You'd be like, man, who you from, and where your family at, and who did you learn under, right? And depending on what man that man learned under, that's who you will marry your daughter off to, and she will be young. You're not waiting until she get old. Oh man. And thus has thus a wife after thy mind, forsake her not, but give not thyself over to a light woman, right? And that's ultimately what that is. That woman you're speaking as a light woman. You have no understanding, right? So it says Titus chapter 2 verse 3, the aged woman, right? So that's what you're saying. You're over 50. You're the aged woman. Likewise, that they be in behavior as becoming holiness. And when the thing you're talking about is not holiness, right? Oh, I want a man to be a trophy too. We need to flip this. We need to, we need to turn everything upside down, right? You want to go from the natural order to whatever you want, just because you're a decent looking woman at an older age, and then these men are on the thing. They're just laughing, as if that's funny, and that's cool. No, you need to be in your position as an older woman, and that way, the next generation is a lot better than the previous generation, right? Not false accusers, right? You say, oh, the man, yeah, that's a false accuser. The man, he wants younger women, and that ain't right. Well, that's just the natural order. It says, love the woman of thy youth, right? So a woman is to be loved in youth. Fathers, give thy daughters away, and you perform a weighty matter right? And that's when she's young, right? Because she's still under her father's household, basically having her father's last name to give her over to another man in order to have that man's name, right? So you're always supposed to be under authority, but you're in there with no authority and with no headship over you, talking madness, right? Not false accusers, not giving too much wine, and saying that's what you are. That's a lot of wine. That's Esau's wine that you're talking about, right? Teachers of good things, right? That they may teach the young women to be sober, right? Not to talk that madness, right? To be to love their husbands and to love their children, right? To be what? Discreet, right? Not wearing them scantily clad clothes, right? Not running around gossiping. Hey, not on fucking whatever podcast you were on, right? A woman don't deserve to be on Front Street like that, especially if she's not speaking something upright to elevate the younger women, the young generation women, right? See, but they'll come against you, pretty much like they did. What's her name? Monique. She's telling them bonnet thing that you look horrible. You know like she said, she goes to the airport and you got the bonnet on, you got the rag glass. You know, international people from all over the world goes to the airport. People from all the world, around the world, travel different places. These people have a certain opinion about you, right? And you may say, I don't give a damn about what nobody feel. Well, their opinion matters, because if you don't care about yourself, because they'll they women dress like any kind of thing. They men kill each other. So when they're speaking of, not hiring you, not giving you jobs, and you go, that's not fair. This and that. Well, they have an opinion about you. You ain't gonna do nothing but be a lazy somebody anyway, right? You're gonna be the lazy N-word. You're gonna come in here dressed like Conquisha, and they don't want that type of life. That's their opinion, and their opinion is the opinion of most of these multi-million billionaires, people who owns things, whether they let you in their franchise or anything like that, right? So those things matter, so to speak, right? Because if you think of the humanitarian efforts anybody's ever bestowed upon us, it's nothing, because they feel like, hey, they say you guys are animals, so you must be animals. Look how you dress. Look how you kill each other. Hey, why should anyone care? Right? But if you be a loving, kind people can be like, hey, wait a minute. These people are different. These people aren't what these people say. I could see that they're loving, kind, they're caring, they take care of themselves, they actually love each other. You can't treat them like that. Right? While you having all this compassion for the goddamn Palestinians, who's having compassion for you? Right? To be discreet, chaste, keepers at home. Saying that's really where you're supposed to be at home. Good, obedient to their own husbands. Right? Whenever, obviously you're not obedient to your own husband. Most likely you don't have a husband. That's why you're there. Right? You have many husbands. Right? That the word of the power of the Most High, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, be not blasphemed, man. And see, when you women are like that, that's ultimately I'm a woman of God. I'm a what is it? They say Jesus is my husband. All right. Well, you're blaspheming the word of God, bro. You're blaspheming the word of God, woman. Should I say? I shouldn't say, bro, but well, that's how you act. That's a manly behavior. You're saying you want to be in the stead of a man. You want a trophy like a man gets a trophy. Well, that's not how that's not how life is broken down. You can see in the scriptures, man. A woman's desire is to be towards her husband. A woman is supposed to ravish her husband with her love, right? Ultimately take over with love, right? You're supposed to be intoxicated with loving him, right? Yeah, so this is Genesis chapter 30, verse 14. It says, and Reuben went in the days of wheat harvest and found mandrakes in the field and brought them unto his mother Leah. Then Rachel said to Leah, give me, I pray thee, of thy son's mandrakes. And so basically the lady was talking about women competing. Well, it's a natural thing for women to compete. So that's not like, I guess society has a somewhat to do with it, but it's more of what women do anyway, right? And here it is right here. It says, and she said unto her, is it a small matter that ye that thus has taken my husband, right? So she was offended, man. She's like, here you are, you took my husband, we both married to the same man, even though he wanted Rachel, he didn't want Leah, but Leah married him first. So she's kind of offended at the whole thing about it, right? Which, she didn't have. I mean, she's talking mess, but there was nothing she could do about it, right? It was, according to the law, a man can have multiple wives, and he went after the wife that he wanted. He wanted Rachel, so he worked 7 more years to get Rachel. There's nothing she could say about it, but it wasn't that she wasn't bitter about it. She didn't she didn't like it, so she expressed what she didn't like. So she said so, and she said unto her, is it a small matter that thus has taken my husband, right? And would it thus take away my son's mandrakes also? Like everything I get, it seemed like you want, right? That's that competition. Why it seemed like everything you want my stuff, right? Type of situation. And Rachel said, therefore he shall lie with thee tonight for thy son's mandrake. So basically she made an even swap. He said, hey, look, tonight was my night to lay with him, but how about I'll trade you. I want those mandrakes and you can lie with him tonight since you love him so much. Right? And that's why Leah had more children. Her love for him was overwhelming. Right? That's why she had a lot more children. That's why, you know what I mean? For a long time, Rachel didn't have any children. Out of all the 12 tribes, Rachel, right, who he loved the most, only had 2 children. Right? She only had Joseph and Benjamin. Out of all the 12 tribes, right? But Leah, her love was a super. That's why the Lord constantly, right, blessed her with children, right? Right. So this is Isaiah chapter 3, verse 24. Right, to prove this, you so-called black women, says a putrid stench, right? Talking about your private area, will replace the smell of spices, right? Your nice, good, these different soaps and different things, right? Because we're about to head to a time of worse than the Great Depression. Worse, you know what I mean? It's ain't going to be a recession. It's going to be the greatest depression ever. While you're worried about, trading places with a man and saying, you want to be able to do what he do. You want a trophy. You want a man to be a trophy too. Hey, well, you better hope a man of the Lord will choose you, and it might be a young man, but you're gonna have to share him, right? And that's the time that you're coming in, right? And like I said, I gave the example of a young man being 12, and then he'd have to work the 7 years. But a lot of times you didn't do that. It was always an older man, right? Whether he's 25 or 30, maybe 40 years old. That's who the father normally married their daughters off to, right? And that man may or may not had other wives, but that's part of the law. That's just that. You're trying to change nature, right? Even when we were young, when I was in high school, the younger women dated older men, the men that were already 25 and 30 years old, the men who were already established, whether if it was in gangs, right? Because we have a lot of gangs in Phoenix, so they would want to date the older guy that's in the gang, the one who a lot of people have this reverence for. They'll want to date him, or they'll date a guy who has a job and a car and things like that. You know, even when I was younger, you know what I mean. And then you talk to people, and you can go all the way back to older people about her age. You know, she's saying she's over 50, and they will say that the young women were dating older men. So that's you're trying to fight against nature, because even young women like older men. You know what I'm saying? So, that's just to give a little tidbit. I'm going on a little tantrum, but let me finish. A putrid stench will replace the smell of spices. Your nice deodorant, summer's eve, this and that for your private areas, the different things, the different perfumes, and this and that and this. Ropes will replace a belt, right? So the natural things that you would have, good belts and garments and things like that, it's all going to be replaced, because this place is collapsing. So she's worried about the wrong thing right now, right? It says, and baldness will replace, right? Proving this, talking about you so-called black women, baldness will replace braided locks of hair, right? Which that's what you have. You have your different weaves, and then the braid, and that's when black women look really nice when they got that when they have the single little braids of the weave coming down or whatever, all right, or their hair on their own natural hair braided. Hey, women, they look beautiful like that, right? But the times of that is about the end. Well, China ain't gonna be sending over no more weaves. You better keep your weaves, because China ain't gonna send no more weaves, right? And not to mention, men of the Lord ain't gonna want you to have that if he choose you, right? Because we know that a lot of those places they did seances and witchcraft over the weave, and then they sent it over here, right, to bug you women out, right? And it says and sackcloth garment will replace fine robes, right? So like dresses, right? Which a lot of you women ain't wearing nice dresses, but it's going to all replace it. So you are going to wear a dress, and that day you're going to have to cover yourself up and wear your own apparel, right? Which you're going to make your own dress or your own skirts, right? But it ain't going to be the best linen, right? If you lucky, you might find a nice good linen, but for the most part, it's just going to be sackcloth. It ain't going to be a great looking garment, right? But you can make it the best you can to make do with what you got, right? And a prisoner's brand will replace beauty, right? And I like this one, because I don't know what the heck they took prisoner's brand for beauty, where it says, and burning instead of beauty, right? Which means ugly. You're going to be ugly. A lot of women are going to be ugly without the makeup, without all the things, without all the filters and things that you're going to be able to have. You ain't going to be looking so hot instead of your beauty. It says, thy men shall fall by the sword, right? So we're coming to a time of uproars of the people, time of race wars, famine, death, pestilence, things that's about to occur, and you're on this thing, you're worried about the wrong thing, right? It says, and thy mighty in the war, right? Some of them are going to get drafted off into the third war's wool, and some of them are going to die here in the race wars here, right? Majority of them, most of your men are going to die. So it's going to leave, ain't nothing going to be left but the elect, right? The elect men. And her gates shall lament and mourn. She being desolate shall sit upon the ground, right? And her gates will mourn and lament, deprived of her people, right? Yeah, so a lot of so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Indians are gonna die, man. It's gonna be very few people in this land. It's gonna be very hard to find. So you're gonna be looking to be around your own people, around other people to be safe, right? With wild animals and dogs and wild prisoners, right? Everywhere, right? They're gonna grab you up, man, right? She will sit on the ground, right? So hey, this is gonna be a time of humbling you women, right? And it says this is a remnant prepared, right? I like that. All right, man. A remnant, and that's ultimately what it is. That's the elect. The elect is the remnant prepared, right? Because we've been on the highways and the byways, being ready. What was rehearsing the righteous acts, and after rehearsing for a while, you're prepared, right? You're ready. You're ready for the show. You're ready to perform the show, and this is going to be the ultimate performance, man. Right? Because it's all going to be live, right? Things are going to happen, and you're gonna be tested. The hour of temptation, right? So now you're going to be center stage, hour of temptation, and you're going to have to perform, right? You have to be ready. You've been prepared. Yep. Now it's time to show and prove. And it says, and in that day, 7 women shall take hold of one man. 7 women will grab hold of one man. At that time, they will say, we will provide our own food, right? It says, and take hold of one man, saying, we will eat our own bread and wear our own apparel, right? So you're going to have to grab some type of garments, right? It's sackcloth, right? In the other verse, right? So you grab your sackcloth and you're going to make a dress or a skirt out of it. You're not going to be wearing pants. You're not going to be, acting a boss babe, all that other madness, right? Ain't going to be none of that, man. Or you're going to be out in the wilderness with no protection, right? If you could do bad all by yourself, you damn sure can, right? Because in that day, hey, it's about to be hell on wheels, man. The whole world is going to turn into hell, right? So much so that ain't going to be that many men. Only one men that's going to be left is the men of the Lord. And that's why it's saying this. 7 women should take hold of what? Of one man, right? And 7 just meaning completion, and one and the one man ain't just saying one particular man, right? Because it's gonna be multiple men, but it's just saying the amount of women it's gonna be overwhelming to the amount of men, right? So yeah, let us be called by thy name to take away our reproach, right? It says, provide our own clothes, but let us belong to you, right? Take away our shame, right? And it's a shame that you women act the way you do, right? You're wearing your pants, you're talking all this and that, you're talking, well, I need a trophy man too. Hey, well, we're gonna see, man. We're gonna see in that day, right? Right? You're gonna need a true man of the Lord to survive in that day, right? Yeah. So when basically I'm just gonna do this, and then I'm gonna go ahead and end it. Just to show you that when it's talking about 7 women to one man, it's not just saying it's going to be one man, but it's just saying that one man happens to be the elect. So it says, Ecclesiastes 7:28 says, which ye, my soul, seeketh, but I found not one. One man among 1,000, right? See, one man among 1,000 have I found, right? So it's talking about out of 1,000 men, he found only one righteous man. So if you go 1,000, 1. Another 2,000, 1. You know what I'm saying? 3,000, 1. And so when you break it all the way down, that's the reason why the Lord said that the elect is going to be 12,000 per tribe, which is going to make 144,000, right? So when you're going into that, and you got to realize 144,000 is a small number compared to a world that's about 8 billion or 9 billion people, whichever one it is, right? It's probably 8 billion, probably pushing up upon 9 billion, right? So you're talking 8 to 9 billion people. The Lord's only talking about taking 144,000 out of them, and like maybe another percentage says a 1/3. It's like a innumerable multiple account, but it's still not that much, not that many, like a drop to a wave, as the scriptures say, right? So you can't take away the natural order of life, right? A man is going to want a younger woman anyway, right? Younger women are able to have children, and it's better for her to have children so that children don't have some type of Down syndrome or whatever the freak happens when you try to be 30 and whatever years old and trying to have children, right? Even you're taking a risk at having children, even when you're 20s. In your 20s, you're still taking a risk, right? You're a little younger, but really you should be having your kids, earlier. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, technically, right? Right? And it says, I have found, so like, where was I at? It says one man among 1,000 have I found, but a woman among all these have I not found. See, so out of 1,000 people, you can find one man, but out of 1,000 people, you cannot find one righteous woman, right? So being that collectively women, 7 women are going to have to take hold of one man. And there's going to be one righteous woman that you can say, oh, well, she's right. We can lean on her for protection. No, she gonna have no choice but to lean upon the righteous man in order to get that protection, because you're unright. You're not right, and there needs to be someone there to put you in order, right? As it says, and I have continuously sought, and I have not found. I have found only one upright man. See, only one upright man among 1,000. See, only one righteous man, and that's why I send 7 women to one man. 7 meaning completion. Doesn't mean it's going to be 7 women. It could be 700 women. It could be 10 women. It could be 2 women. It could be 1 woman. It all depends on how the Most High, and where, maybe even where that brother lies in, how he responds to this truth, right? Right? Doesn't mean he's not the elect. Just means, he ain't on the level to do the work and take on 7 women or take on 30 women and keep his faith and keep his thing right. So you might have to only have one, or might have to have none, right? But it all depends on the man. But you women are going to have to cleave to a man, because there ain't no righteous women, right? One upright man among 1,000, but I have not found one upright woman, right? You see, among all them, right? Yeah. So this is Isaiah chapter 32, right? Which is one of my favorite right here. This is behold, which means feast your eyes, look, pay attention, right? Even on the thing it tells you look, behold means to look. A king shall reign, right, which means to rule, right? And righteousness, and princess, right, which is being the elect, right? That's ultimately what we're hoping to be, right? To be that the elect shall rule in judgment, right? And it says to look, king will promote fairness, right? Which that's only amongst the Israelites, not amongst all these other nations. We're not looking to necessarily be fair as far as for their benefit. We're going to be fair as far as you people put us in slavery. You're going to go into slavery, and that's the fairness that we're going to promote. You beat us, you maimed us, you killed us, you did all sorts of manner of different things. You made us pay tribute, and that's the thing that's going to happen to you. You're gonna get hardcore slavery, and then when you leave, you're gonna be tributaries. You're gonna get your own land, and you're gonna be tributaries. You're still gonna be under our reign and our rule as tributaries, right? And if you don't do that, we'll make it rain, we'll make it earthquake, we'll make it storm, we'll make it all sorts of things where you live at, and make it hard for you to live, and it's gonna force you to serve us, right? We're gonna make you have bad dreams. We're gonna appear in your dreams. We're gonna appear in real life and then disappear. You're gonna mess with your minds. So you're gonna bend to the will of Yahweh Bashem Shai, all you other nations. But for us, it's fairness for the Israelites, right? And officials will promote justice, right? Right, and that's ultimately what we've been doing, man. We've been declared as officials to promote justice in the earth. And that's what we're out there on the highways and the byways to promote, is justice. It says a man shall be, and we're coming to that time where a man shall be as a hiding place, right? It says each of them will be like a shelter, right? So a man is going to be, which is what you're going to need. While you're worried about trying to match, what is it, tick for tat, so to speak, you know what I mean? It says a man should be as a hiding place or shelter, it says, from the wind and covert from the tempest, right? Meaning ultimately those ICBM missiles, man, right? And it says from the wind, which is the ICBM missiles, the nuclear wind, and a covert from the tempest, meaning different storms, the weather patterns, right? Because the weather patterns are off now, right? Right? Buds, flowers are blooming out of season. It rains and then it's cold and then it's hot, and then the next there's an earthquake or it floods, and it's all off season, right? It's all freaking out of course. But see, a woman's gonna have to have a man of Yahweh Bashem Shai, gonna have that elect, that prepared remnant, right? Like it was saying, right? It says it says from the wind, right? Which like I said, that's the nukes, and a refuge. Yeah, a refuge from the rainstorms, right? Which, different storms, different weather patterns, different things that may happen, right? But ultimately, we're talking about that nuclear wind, because even the nukes are going to come down like rain, right? So, and it says like streams of water in a dry region, like a shade of a large cliff in a parched land. And that's what America's about to be, parched land. You know what I'm saying? As rivers of water in a dry place, right? So the Lord allowed Moses to crack a rock, and water flowed out of that rock, and man, there had to be maybe 1 million, maybe 2 million Israelites that were out there, plus their cattle, and they all got water, man, right? I mean, because they don't really state how many, but it had to be a lot of Israelites, right? It was probably 2 to 3 million Israelites that were out there. So not only did they drink water, the men, the women, the children, and even their cattle, from hitting a rock. So like the brother was speaking about yesterday, prepared to see miracles, man. Yeah, see? It says placed as a shadow of a great rock in a weary land, right? And dry, parched land, right? So you're gonna be able to be with that man of the Lord and survive. So you're worried about the wrong things, lady, right? As far as you trying to be the thing, and then you're trying to go against nature, right? Naturally, young women are attracted to older men. Older men are naturally attracted to younger women. That's just that, right? And then the fact of the matter is you're trying to change your position of being an older woman, where you're supposed to teach the younger women how to behave, how to love their husbands, how to be chaste women. You're out of order, not being in order to do such a thing. You're teaching them how to be, a harlot, man. Right? So, with all that, I want to give all praises and all honor and all glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakakwadash. Double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well and do well, to the elder apostles, bishops in Connecticut, the bishops, the preachers, the teachers, the evangelists, and the four winds preaching in truth and sincerity, risking your lives more now than ever, the hopeful elect, Shalom. To the Israelite foreigners, whose phenotype may look like another nation, but bloodline goes back to Israel through your father and have come back to the fold. Shalom. To you sisters, you Achwathium, who listen and learn under your husband, which is your spiritual leader, with meekness and with silence. This should that Ababa Kwam Yasharala.